Let me call to order the workshop here, the City Council, 17th. It's 6:30 somewhere, but not here anymore. Sorry for delaying everybody, but we got through our Ways and Means meeting a little bit later than usual. At our last session of council, where we were addressing second reading, dealing with the casino in 18th Avenue, there were enough questions developed at that time that we thought it was worthwhile to stop and pause and ask for Leonard Way, who's here tonight and is already dressed up and ready to go, who represents Pastime Amusement, to come forward and have a worthwhile discussion with us. He's presented to council more plans, more details of what the proposal is. We'll hear from you here in a second, and then after you're done, we may have some questions from council, and then we'll ask the public to come forward if they have any questions and concerns. They can address us also. So, Leonard, I'm going to thank you for coming again. I know you're a busy man, but this is an important part of the island for us. It's the entry place where everybody knows and has loved for what first put up in what, 68?
I think it was the late 50s.
Late 50s, okay. So it's been there for many years. We all know it and love it, and want to make sure it's well nurtured in the future. You obviously own it. Want to make sure it's compatible with the rest of your businesses. So why don't you tell us what your plans are?
All right, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here again to address this roadway. This service corridor has been here for a good long time, so has the center, and the center is in need of redevelopment, renovation. We've looked at a lot of varieties of ways to do that, and what we've settled on is what you're seeing here in front of you. The buildings here in yellow are the buildings that are going to remain. For ease of reference, that's Long Island Cafe wrapping around to beachside real estate. The building in the rear, which was facing Palm Boulevard, the old dry cleaner building, is going to be repurposed and hopefully saved, subject to costs in the FEMA 50% rule. But our intention is to reuse that building. The buildings in green will be new. So the current grocery store moving down to the liquor store and the old Wild Dunes out parcel will be taken down. Basically, the grocery store to the liquor store were the oldest buildings. They're functionally obsolete. You run into the FEMA 50% rule when you try to do any significant renovation to them, and the only way to renovate those buildings is actually to take them down and start over. So you understand the entire pad where the grocery store will go has to be raised over 3 feet. So that portion will be raised. It will actually be standing 1 foot taller than the Long Island Cafe. So you'll be taking a step up on the sidewalk and up the rampway. The roadway has been a stone road or a dirt road or a combination thereof for the last 50, 60 years, the life of the center. And it's time to bring it into the modern age as well. That is a requirement of our proposed anchor tenant. They cannot send their semi-trucks down that road as it stands right now. They're not going to take that risk to their merchandise. They self-supply, so that is one of their requirements. The ownership of the road is in question. The roadway was never formally dedicated to the public. Instead of trying to get into a long drawn-out issue on that, our proposal to the city was, listen, it's never served the public good, and I don't know why anyone from the general public would ever go down it, although I do understand that people use our dumpsters a fair amount. That's fine. The idea was, let's clear up the ownership issue. Pastime Amusement Company, which owns the shopping center, will bring it up to date, fully pave it, and there will be no maintenance issues to the city and no future issues to the city. The dust will leave Palm Boulevard, And as a side benefit, that parcel of road comes back on the tax rolls. So it will be taxed by the county, and some money comes back to the Isle of Palms. To that end, you know, I've discussed this with our tenants. They are all more than excited to get a paved road in the near future. In addition to other just improvements across the board. There was a question at the last council meeting as to how will paving the road and what we're planning to do as a redevelopment impact the surrounding neighborhoods. I'll direct you to this last board. This is a photo from the Charleston County GIS system, and the land there outlined in red is a bit of marsh that is at the rear of the shopping center before the neighborhood and behind. That marshway is owned by South Carolina DOT. We have no plans to make any changes to it or ask them for any changes. I walked it today. There are a number of people who have built bridges across a little bit of marsh, and it's littered with trash, but it's not, you cannot see from our roadway to any of those houses, and conversely, you can't see from those houses to the buildings. The other buffer is adjacent here, this parcel, which is currently trees and woods. That parcel is zoned residential. It is not part of our redevelopment of the shopping center, nor do we intend to make it part of the shopping center. So it is not part of this consideration. Making the roadway, making sure it's private, and basically a service road for a shopping center is not related to that one either. And then finally, just for perspective, because it was also asked what will be coming, this is an artist's rendition of hopefully a new grocery store, and then you can see some renovations to the existing facade that will be remaining. And the out parcel building will be similar in nature as well.
Okay. One thing you didn't mention, you did tell us before, and I think everybody needs to know it, is you're planning on spending somewhere between $5 and $6 million to handle this entire renovation?
Yes, sir. The physical renovations between the site work, it's over $1 million worth of site work. That includes the cost of the road, which is in excess of $200,000 to pave the road and maintain the drainage and rework the easements underneath it for water and sewer that will need to be reworked as well. Vertical buildings, cost of relocating 3 tenants, all of that number, we're in excess of $6 million at this point.
Now, you didn't mention the I'll call it the outbuilding, where you're putting the existing tenants?
Yes, sir. Three tenants, the liquor store, and 2 real estate firms have the option of vacating if they wish or relocating. And I met with them yesterday, and they are all happy with what I'm proposing, with some slight modifications to address their particular needs, but we're going to work through that process as well.
Okay. I'm concerned your anchor tenant needs a paved road. That's what you've told us.
Yes, sir. The anchor tenant needs a paved road, and it's just time. We had anticipated doing this a number of years ago. At one point, we were in conversation with a drugstore to come to this corner parcel here. And then at that point, we said, well, if we do the drugstore, we'll pave the whole road. And then it was sort of the tail wagging the dog. The concern was, why would we redo a corner and not address the entire facility at once? So it's just been a matter of waiting out certain leases to expire.
Now, we mentioned before, but I think everybody needs to know it. One of the thoughts was, well, why don't you go ahead and pave the road and not worry about ownership? But if I state your point correctly, is you're financing this entire project. I'll say entire, but at least a big piece of the project, and nobody's going to loan you money to work on somebody else's property. Does that sound right?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. Most financial institutions are not going to lend you money to improve someone else's property. I mean, they'll let you can always have a portion. We'll be changing up the entry points to the shopping center, shrinking the number down, which is good for all vehicular traffic. Is less confusion there, and you can pay for those kind of things. But I would not be able to pay for a major improvement to if it's perceived to be a public road.
Okay, the other concern that was demonstrated last time we met with council was the what-if scenario, particularly dealing with that residential buffer lot. What if sometime in the future, the beach company wanted to just abandon that road, build that other wing, what you have in yellow, build that out onto the road? You're just encroaching more of the commercial area towards those residential units that are on 20th there. But I think you said separately that you'd be willing to put some restrictions if we transfer the DTE. Be willing to accept some restrictions on that road being maintained where it is as an access and egress for that and never to be moved hence. Does that sound right? I don't want to put words.
Yes, sir. Certain level of deed restrictions are inevitable in any kind of development. I will tell you that the initial term for any grocery store is 20 years and about another 20 years worth of options. As long as there is a grocery store there, I have to provide access for semi-trucks. So there's really no way to get around not having that roadway there. In terms of expanding over, as your own city attorney has well pointed out at the last meeting, any change to this parcel would need a zoning application to City Council and up to City Council's approval. We broached this 7 years ago with Mayor Sotilli and another City Council, and were roundly rejected. Your zoning administrator has roundly rejected. He has told me what I can do there. I think it's 3 residential lots. And I asked, what about the variance process for more residential, and roundly rejected. So we're not quite sure what to do with that parcel, other than we know that we can do 3 residential lots because that's what the town, or the city has allowed. And I just, for what it's worth, knowing this, and for y'all in the audience, I came and met with the mayor and Linda Tucker 2 years ago as an initial, let's get to the designing point. And we threw a lot of things on the table, and he kept coming back, a shopping center. We want a shopping center. So we have designed a new modern shopping center. And so long as the road is conveyed fully to pastime, there will not be a need for any variance. Parking, building, landscape, setback, any nature. If the road were not to be conveyed, there is a setback requirement for that one particular corner. It's about a 10-foot issue, I believe. Hopefully that would not be such a controversial issue that we could get that variance, but this is the shape of the building that our proposed anchor tenant has laid out as their most efficient.
Okay. Any quick questions from council before we ask Leonard to stand down, and we'll ask citizens if they have comments? Jimmy?
One quick question, and then you just answered it for me, but I'm going to repeat it for my own purposes. If the city were to retain ownership and pave the road, and you were to receive that variance for the 10-foot setback, y'all would be happy?
Sure.
No, sir, I would be. And here's why. I think that any taxpayer that is going to be asked to have basically a $250,000 expenditure on a roadway that to date I doubt any of y'all have really ridden down, and if you have, you've bottomed your car out. I did it on the way over here. They would have the expectation of using it. I have conferred with the liquor store, Long Island Cafe, not just knowing what grocery stores need. Long Island Cafe has 2 food trucks a week, plus wine trucks, beer trucks, and ancillary. They are there for an extended period of time. They can't pull into the parking area. They're too large. So if it's a public roadway, are those trucks going to be able to offload the merchandise and the supplies as they always have? We're talking about 50, 60 years worth of history here. That's how the deliveries come. The merchants wish to be loaded from the rear. And on a public roadway, my fear is they would not have that ability.
Okay. Questions, Jimmy?
I have a question on the rate this was originally presented to us. It seems like, in my mind, it was an option that we convey the ownership of the road to Pastime, or we pave it and retain the ownership, if we even own it, which has never been clearly answered for me. But is that not correct? That there was an option presented to us, on the original, and now you're saying that there's not really an option.
Yes, sir. In our initial discussions with Linda Tucker, it was, if you say you own it, then we want it paved.
Okay.
My concerns, as they were brought forth by the council members at the last meeting, was, well, we'll have to get the money from the county. I kept hearing that over and over. I'm going to be on a timeline, and I don't have the luxury of waiting to have a paved road. I need to know that this road is going to be paved and in place months before this main building is finished.
Yes, sir, I understand.
And so therein, the path of least resistance and the best use of the public money is to let a private developer improve this roadway.
Okay.
Wait, excuse me, sir.
Mm-hmm.
The last meeting was about 3 weeks ago, and the big gorilla in the room that nobody's mentioned yet is that the anchor tenant. And I asked you specifically about red and white, and you said that lease will not be renewed. And I asked you if you were at liberty to divulge the new anchor tenant, which the whole community is very interested in knowing. And you said in a month or so. How are we coming along?
Has it been a short month?
It's been a short month. I would say that I am under a confidentiality agreement not to disclose, and in frankness, we have not ironed out all of the terms, so it would be premature.
So I can't see that drawing very well from here, but that doesn't say red and white, does it?
No, sir. It just says grocery store.
Thank you.
Okay. Why don't you put the mic down, and we'll ask for concerned citizens' input. And we had no sign.
Procedure.
Yeah, we had no sign-up sheet, so first hand up gets the call. Please come forward. We need to hear your name and your address at the microphone because you're going to be recorded.
My name is Pat Endel. I live at 11B 22nd Avenue. My biggest concern is the question mark here. I understand that it's zoned now for 3 residential lots. I don't see where there's any other access except that roadway to those lots. And I think making a determination about who owns this roadway might be premature, because unless you have a development plan on the entire piece of property, you're leaving a significant piece of property in an extremely significant location on the island with what appears to now be a private road owned by a private developer with, as clearly stated, no public access, just for trucks. So I think it's premature to make the decision about the road until you have a development plan for the entire piece of property.
Okay, thank you. First of all, just for clarity, there is only one lot currently. It is potentially divisible into 3 lots by our zoning ordinance, but it's not currently. It's only one. They'd have to go through the process if they needed to. And I can't imagine anybody buying a lot that didn't have access, so. In the back, please. But let me just finish one more point, but if you could start. You'd be surprised how many private roads there are on the island now. Where the developers put it in, it's still private, but there's access by title to the various property owners to use those roads, so.
Yes, and he specifically said would not be allowed to be used except for trucks.
Right.
Hi, I'm Buddy Thomas. I have
Yeah.
a Long Island Cafe, and we've been there for 25 years, 26 years now. And Pastime Amusement has been the only company that has maintained that road while I've been there. And right now, as Leonard said, you can't drive a sedan down that road without bottoming out or either stalling out. And you know how long it's been since it's rained.
Right.
And that's all it's ever been used for. There's no private traffic going through there. It's all commercial traffic. And for the sake of all my cars, the people of my employees parked there, I'd like to get rid of that dust bowl.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Others, sir?
I'm John Crouch. I live at 29 24th Avenue. And I've got a couple of things on this particular presentation that I think might help. Am I correct in saying that the variance, if the road, if the property stayed in the city, we need a variance back here to
Just
stay properly off the thing? Is that correct?
just a corner of the building, a 10
Here,
foot.
that corner. That's right. And by deeding all of this to a private entity, you make this landlocked, basically, because one deed, one housing. Why don't we keep this portion of it in the IOP and give this to the shopping center? And then there's no variance required. This lot gets maintained with public access, and you can still have your trucks.
That's an option.
Seems like a pretty straightforward thought. One thing, when these buildings get occupied, and I don't live behind it, but I'm concerned about lighting. And I want to make a point that the lighting that's placed on the perimeter of the building and also in the front be designed so it doesn't shine in people's eyes across the back, across the trash-strewn marsh. We can have a marsh cleanup instead of, or in addition to a beach cleanup one day, get the stuff out of there. Another thing about the shopping center, and I sent something into Linda this afternoon. I'm an architect. Architects can't help but think big and look at the large picture. And when I look at this section, both owned by, operated by the beach company, I see an opportunity to create a real entry and arrival point for the Isle Pond. And if I had a criticism of this design, I would say that, yeah, it's a newer shopping center. But remember that in 1959 or so, when this was built, there were decisions made that we've lived with now for 60 years. And there are decisions now that you all are going to make that we're maybe going to have to live with for another 60 years. And we won't be around, but there'll be a lot of people that will be here. And there are new buildings being built. So the opportunity exists to change the look of that whole corner. And I don't have 2 copies.
I shared mine, too, so you've got 3.
All right, cool. And
I've seen it, thank you.
the idea of creating an arrival point for the island right here, ties right into the parking wayfinding, slows traffic down, and it creates, I think, added value to the owner of each company. And of course, would be that it's just computer drawings. You can say, all right, well, the city owns this, and then we come over and look at the water company, Island Realty. You can develop this whole corner intersection into a real sort of statement of arrival, and something that really changed the public perception of the island when you arrive at it. The drawings I did were just really quick, but I tried to find out, how many square feet is the unnamed shopping? 24,000 small. That's a 30,000 square foot blob there that I showed, red and white. And the idea, though, of thinking in big terms and thinking in 60-year increments instead of 6 years, I'm not criticizing your involvement and your attention to it. Think in the long term. That development in Sarasota, St. Armand's Key, if any of you have been down there, it's beautiful. And that was done over 100 years ago. And it's evolved and grown into a really elegant shopping, working, entertainment area. And that same thing could happen right there on that corner. And I know it's big thinking, has a lot of moving parts, the state, the beach company, Island Realty, the water company, the city, they're all there. But in the end, I think it would be a much better arrival point for the island and something worth considering seriously. And everything
Okay.
else,
Thank you. We have some others that want to.
yes, so that's it. I'll stop shooting my mouth off. Thanks for your attention.
Wayne, please.
Afternoon. I'm Wayne Mosley, the president owner of the Red White Supermarket. I'm here not to really give an opinion about this service street that we've had for decades, but can you hear me?
It's on.
It's on.
Is it on?
Yeah, just speak up.
Okay. The history of the Red and White store and the Island Shopping Center is an evolution in time since it was built in 1958. I'm the 4th generation owner of a small business, independent supermarket that's existed since 1958. I've been an island resident and the present owner for 28 years at this location with the Pastime Amusement Company as my landlord. I'm here only to state some of the rumors that I've heard that we are not going to be part of the future redevelopment of this small shopping center. I don't know who that is, just like you don't know who it is, but I'd like everyone to understand that there has been no courtesy extended to myself and my family about a continuation of this small independent business. To me, that's arrogant, elitist, and condescending, not only to the residents and my family, but to the city of Isle Mountains. That's all I have.
All right, Leonard.
May I address that?
Sure.
That is categorically false. Mr. Mosley,
Hey, please.
Mr. Mosley approached us several years ago. He told us of a concept to expand the store, something along the lines of a fresh market, to really jazz it up. We went through an entire pricing exercise with him. We used his architects to our construction manager met with him, his architect, several times over the course of several months. At the end of the day, the cost to do the development was more than we felt he could pay. And quite frankly, an independent operator, I cannot get the financing for it. Simple point. No bank will lend us the money to do a brand-new store in a $6 million development with an independent operator. I just can't get the funds.
Okay. Thank you. Well, this is not a debate, but but go ahead.
I was never asked for a financial statement, and to my knowledge, they do not know what my personal or corporate signature would require on such a small redevelopment of these shopping centers.
Okay. Others? Ma'am? Good luck.
It may not be as bad as it looks, but I don't want to fall and get hurt. I'm Marjorie Swanson. We live at 1700 Dunes Boulevard, which is back in here. And I'm very concerned about all of this. You have no idea. I'm wondering, first of all, if the city really owns this land, are we going to give it away free and clear? Hey, let's just give everything away. Is that something we really want to do? I want to know if there is a guarantee that this is really going to be a grocery store. Is there any way to know? What's the height limit? What might go in there? I don't know. I have not heard that there's a guarantee of any kind about that. Also, if we give all the road away, does that mean no cars can drive back there? Mr. Wood? Does that mean no cars can drive back here at all, except your trucks and your employees?
No, ma'am. As with any shopping center, you know, you can drive around the parking lot as you wish, but it is privately owned, it's privately maintained. Sorry to get across it. Only trucks will be allowed down that road. I've got to accommodate all the employees for all of these businesses. I was at the shopping center this evening at 5 o'clock. There were 10 plus cars parked behind there, servicing the restaurant, the various rental companies that run their laundry systems out of that space as well.
Another question, what about walking on that? Any part of that? We walk on the lot.
No,
When I'm not on truck.
Generally, we've never put pedestrian pathways at the rear of the shopping center, but if that's something people want, we can try to incorporate.
Not asking for a pathway. I can watch out for trucks and cars, whatever. But we do walk on that area a lot and would like to know, is that something?
Same as with the vehicles. There's nothing to stop you from going down that roadway. It's purely there to service the commercial tenants. So I'm not sure why the general public would wish to, but there's nothing to stop somebody from riding.
If I can
or
paraphrase
walking.
what you're trying to say, is if a truck's blocking that road, don't come and complain that you can't drive your car through there because if the truck is doing its business. Is that what you're trying to say?
Exactly.
Okay.
I think that answers some of the questions. Will there be any buffer at all put in back there, planting, whatever?
Vegetation?
You say you can't see through, I know you can't.
I-
I'll walk it with you, but it'll be hard.
I mean, you can see little bits. It's not like seeing that wall there. And the buffer, the amount of space that is there will be needed for the asphalt. I don't own DOT land, but it is a very thick vegetative state right now. We don't have any intention of changing that in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, another thing, I am concerned with other people about the houses along here. If this were to be divided as it could be, there has to be access. You can't have a house without access. Road access. I have one on Iowa, no.
Well, yeah. I mean, I can't imagine anybody buying a piece of property that doesn't have access. There's a lot all over the island, so I mean, that's for the buyer to organize. Right now, it would be one lot. He has plenty of access with one lot off of Palm Boulevard.
No, that's true. But, yeah, who owns it?
The beach company.
Beach country. Surprise, surprise.
So then it could indeed become commercial, and that could all
No.
become.
No.
Cannot become commercial.
Cannot.
Wait, anything can
One
be done.
council vote can change it.
Well, sure, okay. The one council can.
But I'm hoping not.
Well,
Okay, thank you.
okay, thank you. I had one other hand in the back.
There's a couple.
You can see who's.
There's four.
I'm Bev Ballard. I live on 3009 Waterway Boulevard. I really just want to thank council for your thoughtful and cautious approach to this, which is, as in my opinion, it's the selling of a real estate that's worth a lot of money with nothing in return. I think that should be considered. I also think the restrictions and a final plan to be presented before any decisions should be made at all. But basically, I really appreciate what y'all's attitude has been. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
My name's Dennis Samuelson, 7 Driftwood Lane. I'm also a tenant currently, and I'll be one of those folks that gets relocated over to here. To me, I think it's simple economics. So if this is owned by the city, I can tell you it's a mess, and you probably should be ashamed for not maintaining it a little better than you have it, because our vehicles back are just get pounded. But if we can take this as a taxpayer and take that land, which is an expense to us now by owning it, and give it to somebody else and create income from that on our tax rolls and have it maintained as it should be, that seems like a no-brainer to me. So I'm in favor of that going over and being maintained.
Thank you, Dennis. Ma'am.
Jill Conway, 20th Avenue. I don't know how most people knew about this meeting, but I found out about it by calling City Hall to ask a question. I was cut off mid-sentence and said, well, there is going to be this special meeting. I don't think we had enough transparency. I don't know how most people knew about this. I was just incidentally told about the meeting 3 weeks ago, so I came to that meeting. I was told that it was too late to put an announcement about this meeting in the Island Eye. I wrote a letter to the Post and Courier asking them to announce it. It didn't get in. I was told the meeting was going to be on the reader board when you enter the island. All it says is community workshop or something to that notice. A few days ago, I received a letter in my mailbox because I live on 20th Avenue alerting me to this meeting. I don't know how far spread those letters went in neighboring blocks to 20th Avenue. When I did come to the meeting 3 weeks ago, I really was very pleased with council, asking very important questions and wanting more details about the project going in. Because of that, the second reading of the motion was postponed. It was up for a second reading. By understanding, a third reading, it goes to vote. At that meeting, it was decided to postpone the second reading. So I think we've bought, some time, and it's important that we all do know about what's going in there. Again, I live on 20th Avenue. I'm very nervous about the property that is zoned residential because it could go commercial with one vote of council, as people just said. I would like to see the beach company, because the city has something, arguably, if the city owns it, that they want to make a concession with a buffer with that lot between the Red and White Shopping Center and 20th Avenue to protect the residents in the area. I hope council will remain vigilant about further plans. Mr. Way did indicate at the meeting 3 weeks ago that it was possible he would come back to council at a point in the future and ask for that lot to become commercial. So again, thank you, council, and I hope you just keep doing what you're doing and getting all the details before it goes to any kind of votes.
Okay, thank you. One more, please.
Thank you. I'm Jan Schreiber. I live in Beachside, 17 Sandy Lane. I really have, everybody asked, I thought, and made great comments. I think the way you're handling it is great. I have just one question. My husband and I have been in retail together probably 50 years. I mean, retail development, retail real estate. We're retired now. But one of my main concerns, especially since we live over here, and we see the traffic, and we are always delighted that we live where we live because we can get on and off this island pretty quick. As you all know, it really backs up all over the island, backs up here. And I'm just wondering about the ingress, egress, and if the traffic study's been done. How are the trucks going to go in and out? I'm not quite sure. I mean, they all come in here. Where do they go out? Do they go out there, or?
We have not done a formal traffic study. We have not done a formal traffic study because the overall size of the shopping center is not increased, and the city administration has not informed us of the need to do so. The idea for this road is right now trucks come at it from both directions. We wish to make it from this corner on to be one way. At this point, it will cut off, and the trucks will exit through this drive aisle to that entrance, a very short run, and they're off the island onto the Isle of Palms connector. Whereas right now, trucks that come from the opposite direction are coming here, gearing up, gaining momentum before the turn, having to slow down, then make the turn.
All right, so you're saying they're going to go in here, and they're coming out here?
Mm-hmm. Right here.
They're going to come out right there. Wow, okay. Yeah, and in all fairness, I mean, I see them parked out here, and knowing anchor tenants and knowing how important, you can't even do a deal with an anchor tenant unless you can have the rear delivery. But at the same time, I'm just, we have so much traffic right here. It's so dangerous right here. It backs up so badly through season. I think a traffic study, especially depending on what the anchor is. I mean, I know if you do a drugstore deal or you work with a grocer, they're going to want to know, what is the traffic count? How can I get in and out? How many cars are going by this? So you mentioned a grocery store before, that you're going to do a grocer, or else you alluded. Are you doing a grocer, or were you just alluding to a grocery?
No, we're in deep conversations with the grocery store.
Okay. So I would think that, the traffic count, but,
They've done their demographic studies, their traffic, they review South Carolina DOT traffic counts. Okay. They're comfortable here. Remember, the Isle of Palms connector is controlled by DOT. You have to be a certain distance away from that road, ingress, egress. They also control Palm Boulevard. These ingress, egress positions have been positioned with all of that information at hand. This drawing is slightly out of date. This entrance at the old dry cleaner will be closed, so you'll only have 3 points of ingress and egress, whereas right now I think there are 5.
Okay. And just one more question. You're thinking of doing something here with this guy?
Yes, ma'am. For the old dry cleaner building, we have a couple of groups interested in that space.
Okay. Yeah, but there's no discussion about a stop light right there?
No, ma'am.
Okay, good.
Light?
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, we're winding down.
Can I ask that everyone make sure you speak into the mic and the mic is on? Your comments are very important to us, and they will be very important to City Council to capture them for the minutes so that they can refer back to them as they deliberate. And if you don't speak into the mic with the mic on, it is very difficult for us to capture on the recording.
Jamie Hollingsworth. My brother and I both own Beachside Real Estate and Beachside Vacations. As tenants of the beach company, we obviously take up a large portion of the shopping center. We also have 2 large storage units in the back where we store paper products, linens, things like that for the vacation company that we access on a semi-regular basis. I want to touch on two things very quickly. One would be the entranceway here being closed up to the laundry. I think if any of y'all have spent any amount of time in the shopping center, you'll know this is a very bad situation right here, not just in the street, but in the parking lot. We've witnessed many of fender benders in the parking lot as people come in and these people aren't stopping. So lessening that traffic in and out of that entrance sounds like a good idea. Second, I'm only going to speak on the condition of the road. I can't say that I know enough about this lot and the ownership of it to comment on that. I think it would be nice for us as tenants to have somebody to depend on. Well, number one, I think it would be nice for all of us if this was in better shape, not to copy what everybody else has said, but more important for us as tenants would be to have a road back there that we can access the back of our units and the storage units that's in good shape. And then on top of that, the long-term commitment to maintaining it, because I think that's an added expense that hasn't been touched on. I'm certain the beach company has already thought about that, but from the city standpoint, if they were the ones that chose to pave it, just knowing that the maintenance of that would be long-term and be something that would be a concern at some point. And it would be nice for us to have somebody to call to say, hey, this is in pretty bad shape back here. I think that's it. Thanks for letting me speak.
Thanks, Jamie. Okay, one more. Two more?
Several more.
My name's Gray McCauley, and I live at 1900 Waterway. And I really like the idea. You could call this casino or whatever, AT, you could call them whatever. You could divide it here, and the city retaining this portion, letting the beach company deeding them that. You are giving something away, and once you give it away, you will have no control. If the city maintained that, if they could, I think you would have a little more control, because you're dealing with a very large entity here, and which is the beach company, and there's nothing wrong with being a very large company, but they're not always the most civic-minded. They're not the biggest give back to the community, sort of a, they're not Carroll Realty, shall I say. Anyway, thank you.
Okay. Please.
My name is Annette Whitmer. I live at 1706 Dunes Boulevard, so I'm roughly behind the vacant lot that's adjoining this. My concern is that down the road, if we give this to the beach company, this right now is residential, but everyone knows if this is gone, this makes this piece of property worthless. It's going to become commercial. That gives them the right then, because then they can move everything this direction. They could move this drive where they want it, and it'll all become a big complex. That's my fear. There's currently no lighting back here. I'm concerned for my neighbors, because I think it's going to look like a football field back there when they get lighting back there. The trucks, when are they going to deliver? They delivering at night, during the day? It's not bad now, but I know none of you live by the red and white. Have you ever heard the dumpsters being emptied in the morning? It's horrible. So I understand growth, but this has to be taken into consideration before this is. This is very important to the neighborhood, and we're a neighborhood. This is surrounded by residents. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Jack always wants the last word. No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah, some other people over here.
There's more?
Jack Hurley, 22nd Avenue. Just whatever happens in the short term, if they would just dress this up a little bit, it looks like it belongs to the Department of Transportation. There's piles of dirt back there, and I never knew who owned it, because I thought it was a town that was, you used it as a place to dump dirt. That's all. It just doesn't look like it.
Okay. All right. See one more hand. Ah, here we go.
My name is Jan Rivers, and I live at 618 Palm. And the gentleman said, and I just want to remind us of what he said, that starting 7 years ago, they tried to get this changed from residential to commercial. And they've been told over and over again they can't. They've been trying for 7 years. What makes you think they will stop?
Okay. One more.
With the baby.
My name is Nancy Mackey. I live on the island in Wildwood, far away from the shopping center. What about leasing the road to the beach company? You'd still maintain some control over it. There would be stipulations in the lease, and that's what they do all the time.
Okay.
I'm Bill Hart, and live on 20th Avenue, also 1720th. First, I certainly hope that the ownership of the road can be established. And it seems like there would be some just common zoning restrictions as far as requirements for setbacks. I mean, I'm not authority on that. Somebody's been filling this property for quite some time. And I think it's dirt that comes from the golf course at Wild Dunes, I was told. Now, the city might own it, it might not own it. But...
Well, let me just clear, we don't own that lot.
Oh, I know you don't own the lot, but I'm talking about the road now.
As far as the road,
yeah,
that's a question mark.
That's a question mark.
We claim ownership. The pastime amusement claims ownership. If we had to clarify that, it would take us 2.5 years in court.
So do they get a pass then because we're not sure who owns it?
No.
I mean, you know, I'm really concerned, like this lady was, about this property here, and there'd be a buffer zone from any commercial property. If you build homes here, there still needs to be allowances for buffer zones. And this is a total mess, and the lady said it should be something that we're ashamed of as a city, and we should, and the beach company, pastime, amusements, or whatever it is. But when you come here, I'm not sure it's a marsh. It might be a creek that's just filled up with all kinds of junk, mess, and everything. But it does drain out down here, and there's a squatter that lives down here part-time. He's got a shack built down there. But I'm real familiar with it because I walk my dogs through there quite regularly. But, you know, I just ask you to consider those things.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, I don't see any more hands being raised.
Real quick, I won't precipitate.
Okay.
Don't trip. Real quick, has the beach company considered moving the new construction closer to the street so that you start to create almost a downtown feel rather than a suburban feel? Because you mentioned that you thought that this was a new modern shopping center. Well, this is really old school shopping center design. So just a quick thought.
If they want to hire you, they're free to hire you.
My concern is for the island.
Thank you very much. I think we've heard a lot. I don't know if council has any immediate questions.
I just have one comment. It's the same comment. The talk is the road is going to remain a road, but when the question is asked, will it remain in the same place? it's just not answered. So
No,
if we have
no.
a guarantee the road would stay in the same place,
We can, if we convey the property, we can put a deed restriction into the conveyance that restricts that road to that particular space in time.
well, that would
And
be
it-
hugely
and
important.
cannot move without the city releasing that restriction.
It still becomes an issue, though, access to what is now a residential lot.
Well, there is access, it's off of Palm Boulevard.
Well,
I mean,
right,
but if
okay.
anybody buys a lot interior, if it's subdivided and buys an interior lot and doesn't, in their deed, have access,
Yeah.
we don't have anybody like that on the island.
Not having access. I don't think you can sell something that doesn't
You
have
can't sell
access.
You can't drop them in by parachute. Michael?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I'd like to thank all the people that come out here tonight. This is an important issue for the island, and this is what it's all about. I'm glad to see everyone here. A couple comments. Number one, we haven't involved the Planning Commission in this. I mean, this is a significant change to the island, and I feel we're rushing this through the city, and I really think the Planning Commission should be brought in. It's a commission of residents, and they should be involved in this. Number two, dispute about the ownership. Beach Company has not paid taxes on this road for the last, 60 years or whatever the number it has been. So, this is city property, and if you really look at it, a natural progression, it's 18th Avenue, so if you look at the streeting breakdown, this has been property outlined by the founding fathers of this city way back in the 50s as city property, and the property to the right of it is zoned residential for the intention of being a residential house. So I think a lot more needs to be discovered, and I really feel we're rushing this entire process through, and I think it needs a lot more due diligence before the city gives up. And I haven't heard one thing tonight that's going to make me say, wow, this is a great idea for Isle of Palms to give away this property to the beach company.
Okay. Any other comments? We don't need applause for our comments. Any other comments on either side? All right, hearing none, I'm going to close the workshop, and we'll convene council next Tuesday. Thank you, one and all, for coming. Well done.
Yeah, it's cold in here.
I'm not going to sleep.
Yeah, well, that's why. I knew there was a reason. I didn't know what it was.
That's a trick meeting plan.